bunch of credentials like Class A, Class B, Class S, Class C.
Right.
He's like, there's just no drone police right now. He's like, but everything everybody's doing is illegal.
Dude,
So-
and you know it too. Like you
Yeah.
turn on your drone and it'll go, hey, by the way, you're in a restricted area. Do you have the proper fucking credentials to fly here? Yeah.
Oh,
of
so
course I
they're
do.
covering their asses then. Okay.
You're like, of course I do, bro. Of course I do.
Yeah.
All right, just
Hit
press
enter.
check. Yeah,
Let me just press go.
What kind of a question is that? Of course I'm credentialed, dude. I paid
Have
my
you seen
$200 or whatever.
Have you seen the Tesla ludicrous mode when it's activated?
No.
All right, so you press ludicrous mode and it says, are you sure doing this will hurt your car, like, prematurely hurt your car or run it down? Press yes to activate or press no to go home to mama. Something like
What does ludicrous mode do? It just makes the car faster, rev high. Like what does it do?
Come on, man. You've seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. You know. All right, man.
I thought
ludicrous
Ludicrous Speed was actually from Spaceballs, bro.
Oh God. Oh man, I'm
Come
slipping
on now.
today. I'm slipping today, guys.
Comb the desert. We ain't found shit.
One of Elon Musk's favorite movies.
That's in my top 10 for sure, dude.
Yeah, his he built that flamethrower because of there's a ton of Spaceballs references in his life, which I didn't know, but I did find this out.
Whose life? Whose life?
Elon Musk.
Oh, Elon Musk. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like I even
Oh,
think he
shit.
had his spaceship built to look more spaceballed.
She's gone from suck to blow.
John, any problems hitting the ceiling? You got plenty of clearance there?
No, I have to be very careful with the 360s.
We've got an educator, Still Mace Madness, and he swings in a very small basement, and it changed his work because he had to be so cognizant and controlled during his swings. So that could be a very good thing. When I built Steel Mace Flow, it was in a very tiny room, and that was something that I had to go through. There were cross beams, so if I was standing in between the cross beams, I could swing with maybe not hitting the roof. But man, I'd be like deep in flow and ping and
Oh no, my first class with Kristen was awful because of that. But the most recent one I took last weekend, no problem. So I've adjusted. Problem is I can't go back. I can take one step back or one step forward, and maybe two on the sides. Can't do more than that. So I'll be moving some furniture around probably for my master flow.
yeah, that is part of it. Yeah, we got just a few minutes before we get started. We got about 3 minutes. Rich usually works during the day, so it's awesome to have Rich on camera. No pressure, Rich, but I did hear you were going to test out at the end. Heard you were going to test out live in front of everybody. No pressure, but
By the way, Coach, I can't find my masterclass flow.
it's hidden in there, man.
It says there's 3 unavailable videos that I can't access for some reason.
Oh,
Yeah,
You're not worthy to watch that one.
I'm not worthy to watch
Yeah.
my own video.
yeah.
Too narcissistic, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I don't know. That one's worth watching, man.
With all the shit I've recorded, I never recorded that one as it was happening, which I really
Man, you got to see it. Oh man, I feel like I'm holding on to national treasure here.
Yeah, okay.
I think the last time I was on video, I was on a boat.
Yeah, you were fishing.
Yep.
You were reeling one in. Turned your camera on just to show us what the good life's like. My friends and students, it's so great to have support, man. I like doing this thing where I just ask people for help. Well, hey Newt, can you help me?
Of course.
I don't know with what, but one of these days I'm going to ask you for help. It's great to know you're willing to help me. Guys, just start asking your friends that like 2 weeks before you want heavy furniture moved. Right? And generally speaking, when I do need help with Still Mace Flow, I call upon the general. Guys, I got a really small surgery, really small, that I'm going to take off and do. They rescheduled me for today. Jeff is going to take you guys through today's class. I'll be on speaker, so I'll be able to be with you guys while I'm driving. And we will be moving a little bit today. We'll be moving. So appreciate everybody for setting themselves up to move. Before we get into moving, Jeff's going to go over some homework with you guys. Of course, we had the homework of naming your 5 basic moves, which we all agreed upon: the ballistic curl, the switch curl, the uppercut, the arrow, and the 360. So you should have a codex. You remember those codex rings where you like turn it to A7 and it say the or something, you know? So you're building a small codex, and with that codex, with that journal, we're going to start making meaningful flows. You'll notice your connection with the move will be magnified because you've built a consciousness around the moves. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Jeff. There he is.
I'm going to switch over to gallery view, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your attention, Leo. Thank you, as always, for the opportunity to lead a level 2 course. It's always a great honor and a lot of fun. So, guys, who did their homework? Let's start right there. Who did their homework? Who gave all of the basic 5 movements some meaning? We're going to go with a ringer to start. Fausti, I'd love for you to jump in and just really quickly give me a rundown of what the 5 movements mean to you.
The ballistic for me means balancing the good and the bad. The switch curl means momentum. The arrow is focus, setting goals and focusing on attacking them. The uppercut for me has always meant sacrifice and a willingness to suffer in order to gain. And the 360 has a million meanings for me: confidence, security, love, anxiety. I mean, you name it, depending on how I'm using it and where I'm using it. But I would say confidence and love, self-love.
Okay, so confidence and self-love is the one that rings the most true to you today in this moment.
Yeah.
Right on. So if I ask you to do a flow that says, I'm showing myself love while also experiencing balance and sacrifice, what would that flow look like?
All right. You want me to do it?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what was it again? It was, I'm showing myself love by
Showing yourself love and balance, but also sacrifice.
Okay.
So we show the 360, which is the self-love. There's the balance in the ballistic curl. Finally, the sacrifice of the uppercut. Very good. Beautiful, beautiful. Does anyone have any questions about what Fausti just did? Right on. Who does? Great. Who else did their homework? I saw a couple hands. Sean, what do you got, my friend?
Oh, I got some very interesting things because the way you transition into a move changes the feeling entirely. But for the ballistic curl, I definitely got always finding balance between basically let me go get to that page there.
Actually, Sean, I'm going to have you pause for just a second. Guys, as Sean is reading off his responses, if you wrote something similar to the same movement, please raise your hand.
So basically, it's bouncing all things. So, thought and feeling, male, female, anger, peace, present, future, the beast and man, lover and warrior.
That's all in the ballistic curl.
Yes, finding balance in all things. For the switch curl, for me, it's a very grounding effect. So just feeling that power down there as you go in there. And because of that, I had a hard time not doing the forward lunge when doing the ballistic curl. So just kind of a bias there. The standing uppercut just feels very reckless and chaotic strength to me. Whereas the hunter uppercut, it's more focused and grounded.
We're going to stick to just the basic movement. So we're just talking uppercut, not necessarily the hunter uppercut right now.
So then the arrow to me is, very different, doing the prayer transition at the heart, because it, to me, it definitely is very vulnerable and projecting that vulnerability. Whereas from other positions, it has a different meaning. And the 360 with the two hands, it feels, I couldn't quite put the emotion to it, but it feels very much like a bestial roar. So more like a berserking warrior, whereas other variations of that feel more focused and disciplined.
Right on. So, Sean, if I ask you to do a flow that is a 360 followed by an uppercut into a ballistic curl, I would like you to first demonstrate the movements, then do it again, and tell us the story that you are telling us with those three movements based on the meaning that you just gave us.
Okay, so the 360 uppercut and ballistic curl. Okay, now to do it with the meaning behind it.
Yes, sir.
So we have a bestial roar, followed by reckless and chaotic strength, then grounding that strength and focus.
Now, what happens once you've ground that strength and focus? If from here, now you add your arrow, what does that add to the story?
That adds much more vulnerability. So I'd say, taken as a whole, the story basically tells a story of somebody very, I guess, emotional, reckless, finding their, being instantly, grounding themselves on, the self-reflection, and then projecting the lessons learned from that self-reflection and making themselves vulnerable to themselves in the eyes of others.
Now, this is a fun question. When you do that flow, the flow that we just wrote, those four movements, if you know that you're going to add the arrow at the end, that expression of vulnerability, does that change the way that the moves that precede it feel to you?
I would say it would definitely change it for me, knowing ahead of time what I'm going to be doing versus doing it in the moment, where I'd be more in touch with maybe, doing everything side to side, one direction than the other, and kind of get more in touch with those emotions within those moves.
Very good.
Versus the story.
Let's see it one more time with that powerful expression of vulnerability at the end. And everyone else, I want you guys to watch him from the very beginning here. And what we're looking for is the entirety of the meaning that Sean's told us about, but I also want you guys to look for the vulnerability from the very start. Nice, Sean. I want you to do it one more time. I want you to slow everything down by about 50%. Very good. Nice, nice. Guys, raise your hand if you can see the vulnerability in that. Right on, right on. Raise your hand a little higher if you saw it more when we slowed it down. Did that make you feel more vulnerable as you were performing this, Sean?
It did. Yes.
Great work. Great work. Who else did their homework. Newt, my man, you're the first hand I saw.
Yo, what up? All right, so for the 360, I just want to say that these haven't changed much since the first time I did level 2, but the underlying concept has become deeper since the last time I was in class. So I'm just going to go through that. The 360 represents love and openness, the arrow progress, the uppercut strength, the switch curl protection, the ballistic curl connection.
So if you want to show a flow that is your ballistic curl, uppercut, and arrow, what are you showing us? And Leo, if you're still here, can you make me a host so we can unpin Sean and pin Newt? There we go. Thank you very much.
Got you, buddy.
So we got ballistic curl, uppercut, arrow right. What's that?
Nice, Newt. So what is the story that you're telling us with those 3 movements, my friend?
Well, the ballistic curl starting with connection. I used the ballistic curl. Actually, my bad, I did a switch curl, so I was doing protection there. So do you want me to change that up?
Go for it. If that feels more accurate.
I did a switch instead of ballistic, so you know, all of the language right on. So from the switch representing protection, I just want to say, when I got that, when we'll dive into this later, the cross guard, I've been supersetting that switch to that cross guard. So that cross guard, then with that full switch, I just feel protection all around that cross guard and that full arch. So just want to throw that in there. So protection, and then we went into the uppercut, which is strength. So maybe the story I'm telling is being so vulnerable, I'm always protecting and having the guard up, but then embracing my strength and breaking out of that protection, moving through where that uppercut, stepping into strength, and then going into that arrow, which represents progress. So the progress of moving from being overprotected, embracing my strength, and then putting that out there for people who experience.
You know, that is a beautiful sentiment, progressing past a sense of overprotectiveness into strength. Is that a story that you would have told yourself and been aware of had you not taken the time to assign a meaning to these movements and then string them together like that?
Intuitively, I probably knew this story myself, but having a way to express it in movement is so I could objectively look at it and then see it for what it is, and then examine it from the outside rather than being mixed inside those emotions.
Beautiful, beautiful. And this is like the power of what we do in assigning the movement to the words, because it's one thing to write something like this down, is another thing entirely to anchor it with movement and then give ourselves the opportunity to celebrate and express it more fully. Does that help you progress even more past overprotectiveness into that benevolent strength when you are able to move through it more than just writing it down? And writing it down is key and important. Yeah, right on. Absolutely, thanks. What I'd like everyone to do right now is go ahead and grab your mace, my friends. I'd like everyone to get into warrior position. We're going to do something very simple here. I want you guys to go back to earlier this week when we talked about the 360 and the ballistic curl. And all we're going to do right now is a 360 with a bottom hand catch, a ballistic curl, back to a 360, one ballistic curl. Now you notice, because we're only doing 2 movements, we're repeating the same side over and over That's not what's important right now. What's important is that I want you guys to see if you can remember what these two movements mean as we discussed on Wednesday this week. And what is the very important story that we are telling right now as Steel Mace Flow coaches. As soon as you've got it, please come forward and say it. And if you've been through this class before, let's give someone who's first time through the mentorship an opportunity to tell this story. We'll give you guys about 30 seconds here. Again, we discussed the meaning of these two movements on Wednesday. So as soon as you know what story we're telling, come forward. Unmute yourself. All right, now we'll open it up to anyone who's been through the mentorship before. If you know what this story is, come forward and tell it. Fausti, you're up.
Community and putting mace in hands.
Right on, right on. The 360 is the story of the heart, the story of love. The ballistic curl, the story of putting mace in hands. As Steel Mace Flow coaches, we better love expanding this community and love putting mace in hands. Two movements, big expression, very important. Remember, guys, this is a coaching certification. We are coaches. If we're going to spread this message, we got to love doing it. Does that make sense to everybody? Right on, right on. I think we got time to go through the meanings of one more person's movements. Does anyone else want to share what they came up with? Jeff, let's hear from you, brother. And we just need you to unmute yourself. There you go.
Cool. Yeah, so as I was feeling into it, I did arrow, focusing energy from the heart toward what matters most. Uppercut, rising up from the earth to meet the challenge. Switch curls feel like grounded commitment or fierce love. Ballistic curls, I was kind of feeling into what we were doing last time with gratitude, connection, community, lineage. That feels really resonant. And 360s, staying centered in the heart in the midst of the flow and chaos of life.
Very cool, very cool. Guys, raise your hand if any of those resonated with you or were similar to what you came up with yourself. Right on, I see a couple of hands. Jeff, what I'd like you to do is pick 3 movements, any of your choosing. I'm not going to choose these for you, and I'm not going to choose the meaning for you, but I want you to pick 3 movements, connect them, and then tell us what the story is that you're telling. I see a 360 coming. Very nice. 360 ballistic curl to an arrow. And Jeff, can you tell us what those 3 movements paired together? What is the sentence that you are creating with those 3 words?
Yeah, so the feeling was of staying centered in my heart in the midst of chaos. Connecting with lineage and gratitude, and focusing my energy from the heart on what matters most.
Right on, right on. Is there any underlying sentiment that connects all 3 of those for you?
Definitely love and community.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That could not have segued more perfectly into the next thing that we're going to do, my friends. We are going to explore briefly the story of the heart. So I'd like everyone to find yourself in the warrior position. Can
Excuse me,
everyone,
Coach Jeff.
can everyone hear a little music?
Yes.
Sure. What's that, Rich?
Real quick, Coach. Are you gonna be able to see all of us? I have some. I got some items in my bag. I'm gonna put behind me.
I can see you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Cool. Let's everyone find ourselves in warrior position. Take a moment here. Take a big, deep, powerful breath in. And notice that in our warrior position, the middle of the mace is close to our heart. We're using the full length of the mace. Everyone here is a level 1 graduate, has a strong 360. So we're going to start some 360s in 3, 2, 1. Big breath in, lift, and swing. As we move through this, my friends, please feel free to switch sides, switch directions at any point of your choosing. Begin the first few reps, center ourselves, acclimate to the movement. Once we've found a rhythm with our 360, let's take our attention away from the globe and bring it to our grip. And notice the shape that we're making with the trail of our hands. We call this the story of the heart because we're drawing a heart. And right now, you're drawing a heart around yourself. So as you settle into these 360s, drawing a heart around yourself, allow yourself to feel some love for you. And as you're feeling that love for you, go ahead and close your eyes. Now we want to start to take that love and expand it from ourselves. So I want you all to start to think of someone or something that you love dearly. And take yourself from simply an image of that thing or person that you love to an experience that you had with this person in this time. Find yourself immersed in that moment of love. Allow that feeling to anchor you here. Allow the heart that you're drawing around you to anchor that feeling. And I want you to squeeze your eyes closed just a little bit harder. I want you to take the outside edges of your mouth, your lips, and start to bring them up closer to your eyes. Start to smile. Notice how powerful that smile feels as you draw a heart around yourself and you squeeze your eyes shut. Ever heard the expression that a real smile is a smile with your eyes? And remember to switch sides as you choose. I want you to hold on to that moment through these last couple of swings as we slow down and return to warrior position. Go ahead and open your eyes, keep the smile, and set your mace down. Beautiful swings, my friends. Beautiful swings. Raise your hand if you felt something there. Does anyone want to share who or what they were thinking about, what you noticed in your body, what the transition of that drill did for you?
Coach, I'll share.
I'd love to hear it, Rich. What you got?
So most of you guys, if you don't know me, but this is my fourth time through the class, and I usually don't get to participate. This is actually, I think, the first time I got to do that exercise in the level 2 mentorship. But the whole time, I mean, I look forward to this, whether I can swing mace with you guys or not, just being on here. And that whole time swinging, it was just being in this class, all of you guys, this whole community is like it just kept going through my brain constantly. So.
Right on. Thank you, Rich. Does that resonate with anyone else here? From my vantage point, that's exactly where I was at. I got to keep my eyes open the whole time and watch all of you guys and experience a great deal of love and gratitude for you guys being here. Thank you guys very much for joining me on that. We're now, unless anyone has any questions on anything we've done so far, we're going to start to move into our swords and shields education. Who here so far has looked at the swords and shields module from level 2? Right on. Does anyone want to tell me why we call it swords and shields? I'll give you guys one hint. One is very obvious because we're swinging the mace as if it was a sword. Who can tell me where the shield is?
The other hand.
The other hand, that's right. That's in our open hand. So guys, as we move through some of the swords and shields landmarks, I want you guys to be very mindful of what your open hand is doing. For the next few minutes, we're going to isolate our body movement. We're going to remain in a mostly static posture as we move the mace around. The only other thing I want you guys doing, aside from moving in and out of the landmarks and the transitions that we're going to do, is mind what your shield arm is doing. Steel Mace Flow Level 2 is largely a one-handed mace movement education. Level 1, we keep 2 hands on the mace the entire time with the exception of some one-handed 360s. In level 2, we spend a lot of time with only one hand on the mace. That means that our open hand has a lot of room for expression and engagement. And to illustrate that real quickly, let's go ahead and do a drill. We mentioned one-handed 360s, so let's experiment with this for a moment. Let's find ourselves in warrior position. And let's just get our mace into our dominant hand. And we're gonna let our other hand just hang out. Do a couple one-handed 360s with your arm just hanging out. No real engagement, no real attention on what it's doing. I often find myself doing exactly this in one-handed 360s. Good. Now, let's take a brief pause, and everyone go ahead and connect your hand to your heart. And do the same one-handed 360. Notice the difference. Notice the change. Now, let's put our hand behind our back. Same 360. Good. Now that we've illustrated this, let's try to go back to keeping the arm unengaged. Let's go back to that T-Rex arm. Just a couple more 360s. Good. What did you guys notice there? What did you notice about your 360s with the T-Rex arm versus hand on heart or hand behind your back?
I feel like any move you make when you put your hand on your heart, either open or closed, it definitely changes the feeling for me. You know what I mean? As I'm doing it, compared to having the hand behind my back or wherever, here, T-Rex, definitely changes it.
Changes the feeling, changes the emotion. What else?
And the intention, I would say, you know?
The intention. Beautiful. What else? Jeff, what do you got?
I like a shift from focusing on doing it to feeling it, which is simple as I can say it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did anyone notice anything physically about their 360s?
I had when I landed after finishing the 360, I had more balance with the T-Rex arm.
You felt
Yeah.
more balanced.
I was more balanced with the T-Rex arm than when I had it on my, on my heart and on behind my back.
Right on. Did anyone notice anything about their engagement in the rest of their body, having the T-Rex arm versus hand on heart or hand behind their back? Rich?
Yeah. So for me, with the T-Rex arm, it felt very unstable, not a lot of control in the swing. But then once I gave that free hand position, it kind of locked me into place. Everything kind of fired up because one side of my body was connected to the other.
Absolutely. So one thing that I've noticed when I connect my hand to my heart, put my hand behind my back, do some kind of engagement with my shield arm versus just unintentionally having the arm hanging out. Now I've done a lot of one-handed 360s with a T-Rex arm, so I can still manage a pretty good 360 this way. But I noticed that my 360s are almost always stronger with more engagement. When I looked around the room and I saw everyone go from a unintentional arm to a more deliberate arm, everyone's 360s cleaned up and looked stronger. They were also more expressive. So bearing that in mind, guys, let's go ahead and find ourselves into landmark 2. We'll start with our level 1 landmark number 2. Very good. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my hand by the tail and I am going to disconnect it from the mace. Good. And find ourselves in a position that we call mid-guard. This is our first Swords and Shields landmark. So what we're going to do now is bring this back up to landmark number 2 and let it fall. Good. And bring it back up. Let's do that a couple of times. Bring it back up. And let's do one ballistic curl to take it to the opposite side. And try the same thing. Just releasing, letting the tail fall. Notice how it swings. Bring it back to landmark number 2. Now let's just give this 2 more reps, and then we're going to hit our journals for a moment. Notice that when we release and apply no resistance, how the steel swings. Now go ahead, my friends, grab your pen, grab your journal. I'm going to have you write down 2 words. 2 words in your journal. You can write these words in any way that you choose. Those words are still, steel. Steel, still. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds here. Do not rush this. This is important. A couple of you guys have done this before. For me, this retains its power each time I do it. We're going to go to gallery view for a moment while I have everyone hold up to the camera what you wrote in your journal. Is that in a stop sign, Fausti?
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very cool. All right. Raise your hand if you wrote the word still as in like a still body of water. Raise your hand if you wrote the word steal as in to take possession of. Raise your hand if you wrote steel as in a steel mace. Right on, right on. Something we're going to remember from here on out, guys. One of the two major concepts we're going to talk about today is making your steel still. So what we just did was move from landmark 2 into Midgard without making our steel still. What we're going to do now is make this release, keeping our steel still, finding ourselves in Midgard. So let's go ahead and pick up our mace again, my friends. Finding ourselves landmark number 2. And instead of dropping and releasing without control, I want you to apply control, rotating at your elbow, not your wrist, as we release and find this position with our mace. Good. Very nice, Fausti. Give this a couple reps, my friends. Keeping the steel still the entire time. Nice, Brandon. Excellent control, man. Good. Now, from my Midgard, I'm going to bring my hands together to pray in the middle, keeping my steel still to transfer to the other side. Good. Same thing. Keeping our steel still. And now, let's practice moving from side to side, from Midgard to Midgard, trying to keep our tail as still as possible. Good. One more time. And we're going to take a short break. We're going to take breaks in between the landmarks. Coach is going to talk a little bit, because one thing we're doing with the Swords and Shields module is we're strengthening our tendons and our ligaments in addition to our muscles in order to be able to withstand sword swings. Did anyone now who's not been through this before realize that what we just did was a sword swing? It absolutely is. One hand on the mace, swung like a sword. 5 degrees. How much am I swinging this sword? What was that?
90.
90, exactly right. So this is a 90-degree sword swing. So one thing we're going to do today, in addition to keeping our steel, is we're going to measure our sword swing. To me, measure means 2 things. It means to quantify, to give a number to. It also means to be very mindful of. We're going to now move into our next landmark. From Midgard, I'm going to move into a sword grip. I'm going to move into a sword grip by getting my thumb on the weld of the mace. From here, I'm going to press the globes down and bring the tail up behind me. And let's practice this a couple times, my friends. Moving from Midgard to tail up behind me. Let's do one more time. Very good. Pray to transition to the other side. Find your sword grip. Rest the mace down, lift the tail behind you. We're now moving into a landmark called bottoms up. Can anyone tell me why we call this landmark bottoms up?
I'm guessing because the bottom of the mace is pointing up.
Gold star, Sean. You're exactly right. Yeah, the bottom is pointed up. How many degrees of a sword swing am I doing right now? For bonus points and extra credit.
180.
180, exactly right. We're going from the tail pointed down to the tail pointed all the way up. This is our static version, guys. What we're going to do now is make this a little bit more fluid. We're going to transition, keeping our still steel, going from mid guard to bottoms up. Back to mid guard, pray, transition. Now, we haven't done a ton of reps here. Who here is feeling your forearms already? Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the reason why we're going to take some breaks today. Now, raise your hand if you're being mindful of your shield arm. Trick question. You can't raise your hand and be mindful of your shield arm at the same time. Got you, Newt. Thank you. I appreciate it when you guys laugh at my jokes. I really do. Thank you very much. All right, guys. Any questions on those first two landmarks we're looking at? Right on, right on. Let's find ourselves back into Midgard. The next landmark we're going to look at is from Midgard. We're going to put the globe by our hip, use our sword grip and a little bit of curl in the pinky and ring finger to bring us up to crossblade. We're at a 45-degree angle here. Passing from Midgard to crossblade. Midgard to crossblade. Very good. Let's pray one time. Switch sides. Midgard to crossblade. Excellent work, my friends. Very nice, Fausti. Beautiful work, Newt. How many degrees of rotation are we doing here? If we're measuring our sword swing, how many degrees are we moving?
270.
What was that?
270. 270.
We got,
No, that's going all the way across. My bad.
yeah, so we're going, how many degrees from Midgard to here?
So like 100.
135 degrees.
135.
135 degree sword swing. Maybe not a natural number that we would come to, but important to recognize nonetheless. Keeping our still steel, let's do a couple more reps here. Good. And let's practice a static switch, bringing our hands together to pray, landing ourselves in our crossblade position. Good. I want my arm to be in front of me, globe near my hip. We're out here, we're using a lot of strength. Now I see some of you guys wanting to make a more fluid transition here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's move from crossblade to crossblade. And if you've forgotten what your shield arm is doing, let's mind it. Even as we're fluid, we're still finding a position of still steel. Very nice, Brandon. I love the high guard here. Good. And let's go ahead and take a break. Set our maces down. A few of you guys were very naturally going up to a high guard shield here. I saw some open hands and I saw some closed hands. Was anyone doing both an open and a closed hand? As we move through more of these landmarks and you find yourself in a high guard, pay attention if you're keeping your hand open or closed. Closed hand means we're holding on to something. An open hand often means we are ready to receive or we are letting go. Any questions on those landmarks so far? Right on. Guys, let's find ourselves back into Midgard. If I'm in Midgard, in terms of level 1, what landmark am I in?
Level 2. I mean,
2.
landmark 2.
Landmark 2, absolutely right. So now we're going to take our landmark 2, our Midgard, and we're going to bring this up to landmark number 3, to a position we call high guard. Very good. I like what Newt's doing here. He's got his shield arm replicating the position on the opposite side. Good. From here, I'm going to take my high guard position and punch the mace straight down. Good. Bringing it back up to high guard, punching it straight down. Let's do that one more time. Good. Hands together to pray in the middle, switch sides. Moving from high guard to our bottom punch. Can anyone tell me why we call this position bottom punch?
You're punching the mace to the bottom.
Punching the mace to the bottom. Great work. Great work. Let's give it one more rep. And now let's fluidly switch sides, keeping our still steel in the middle, making the transition more fluid. And if we're measuring our sword swing, if I'm going from high guard to bottom punch, how many degrees of a sword swing am I doing?
Right.
90. That's right. That's right. Very good. Let's continue to execute a couple more fluid transitions from bottom punch to bottom punch. Minding that still steel, even in a fluid transition. And go ahead and take a break, my friend. Set your mace down. These landmarks, practicing the transitions, can put a lot on the tendons and ligaments. So that's why frequent breaks are often important. Question: is it possible to keep our still steel or our steel still while executing a fluid transition?
Yes.
Yes. Why?
Well, because we're able to have that control with, we have that control holding with our hands at the weight of the mace and our position of our thumb, especially, to keep it as still or as wild as we want.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What happens here is we put a great deal of awareness into what we're doing. So instead of coming from my bottom punch and having this unruly swing in the middle, we can make a very beautiful still transition. Very controlled answer. Great work, great work. Let's go back to Midgard. Now, the first thing I want you to do for this landmark is we're going to take our shield arm, and I want you to reach it out in front of you like you're pointing. Point at your camera. Point at someone you really like. I'm pointing at all you guys. I really like you all. Now, what I want you to do is draw your elbow back like you're drawing a bow. And notice that as you draw this back, this opens up your chest. Once we've opened up our chest, let's bring our mace from Midgard across our body, putting our arm in a cross body position and our mace into landmark number
1.
anyone?
1.
That's right. We're in landmark number 1. But feel this openness. So try this just for fun. Let's go from Midgard. Let's take our shield arm out of the equation and then just move this across. Feels pretty cool. Now let's engage our shield arm, pull back, create some elastic tension as we go into cross block. Very nice, my friends. How much cooler does that feel?
Infinite.
Infinite. I was going to say someone give me a number, but you just gave me all the... John's getting the gold star for the day. Congratulations. Good. Guys, let's find ourselves in a cross block. I want to see if you can transition from cross block to cross block fluidly. Go. Nice, Sean. Excellent work. You got it, Jeff. That looks great. Bring it up just a little higher, Jeff. A little bit higher to pray in the middle. Yes, very good. Making sure that as we transition, we continue to open our chest and create elastic tension. Regardless of where your shield arm goes, if it goes up high or if it goes down low. You notice here, sometimes I like to pull this back, still opening the chest. Sometimes I like to pull it high, still opening up the chest. Very good. Go ahead and take a short break, my friends. Any questions about any of the landmarks we've covered so far? All right. So we've already put some tension on our wrists, our ligaments, our elbows. I want you guys to think about most of the rotation in these coming from your elbows as opposed to your wrists. This next one is going to be a little bit more difficult. From Midgard, we're now going to go to a landmark 1 position with the palm facing out. I'm going to keep my elbow nice and close to my side here and go palms out, landmark 1. Notice my elbow still stays close to my side. We call this position bottom block. Now, if you notice a challenge here, or if any of your students notice a challenge here, we can move our hand a little bit closer to the center mass, and this movement will become a little bit easier. We can get there by moving closer to a sword grip and then reestablishing a standard grip as we transition to landmark 1. Let's pray to switch to the other side and give this a few reps going into bottom block. And I'd like everyone to try at least a couple of times putting both arms into the bottom block position. So I'm still at a one-handed grip, but I'm mimicking what one side is doing. Also try it with a high shield. And now let's fluidly move bottom block to bottom block by praying in the middle. Good. This transition's a little harder to keep our still steel. And if we measure our sword swing from bottom block to bottom block, this one should be easy. How many degrees are we doing? 180. That's absolutely right. All right, take a break. Who found that one to be more challenging than the others? Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things I just want to reiterate here. We can make this more attainable by choking up on the mace just a little bit. Getting our hand closer to center mass is going to make that transition easier. One way we can do that is in Midgard, moving up to our sword grip, getting that thumb right by the weld, and as we lower the mace, just sliding our hand closer to center mass. We can also just toss it up a little bit and go into our bottom block position. Keeping our elbow close to the side here is going to be key. It does separate a little bit when we get into the position, but we're always going to be stronger with our elbow closer to our side than extended away from our body. Right on? Cool. We're now going to go from our Midgard to a position that should look fairly familiar to you guys. What position am I in now? Say that again.
Crossbody bottom.
Crossbody bottom. What's different about this from a standard crossbody bottom?
One-handed.
One hand on the mace. So guys, we're going to practice going from Midgard to our one-handed crossbody bottom. You may start to notice that as we get the mace close to our chest, it's going to help if we go a little bit into a big heart. Now, I know we said we're going to isolate our body movement. We're not going to do a lot of body English today. This is one of the exceptions. Good, let's pray. Transition sides, moving from mid guard to crossbody bottom. Minding our shield arm. Good, good. And now let's try moving from crossbody bottom to crossbody bottom fluidly. Good, Sean. Very nice. Excellent work, Jeff. Guys, the still steel concept is very important here, as well as measuring our sword swing, because as I settle into my crossbody bottom, I want to be able to stop in the position as opposed to going past it and then returning it. So measure our sword swing. Keep the still steel. Very good. And now we can really strongly illustrate where the swords and shields becomes very much like the level 1 material, simply with one hand, because this is not that different. My transition is still much the same, except inside it, instead of sliding my hands along the mace, we're passing it off with a prayer in the middle. Excellent work, my friends. Excellent work. Go ahead and take a short break. I got good news. We only got one more to go through. What we're going to do now, and we're running just a little past, guys. It's now noon Eastern. If anyone needs to go, that's okay. I got at least 5 more minutes of material for you. We're now going to go through Midgard. I want you to remember the big heart. A full heart will protect you. We're going to bring this through our crossbody bottom to a position that we call, does anyone remember this?
Bottoms up front.
Bottoms up front, that's right. The position we were in before, bottoms up back. Now we're in bottoms up front. So now I want you guys to practice moving from Midgard to bottoms up front. And how many degrees of a sword swing are we doing?
360.
I've got 180, but that's pretty close.
Oh, I was thinking with the transition.
We haven't added the transition yet. But now, if we do, we are doing effectively a 360 degrees of rotation in our sword swing. A full heart will protect our face. Does everyone feel how our full heart is protecting us as we move through that? Right on, right on. All right, guys. Any questions about any of the landmarks we've looked at? So we're now going to spend a couple of minutes connecting them all. What I'd like you all to do is start in Midgard. We're going to execute our first transition to our bottoms up back. Cross split. Bottom punch. To bottom block. To Midgard. I'm sorry, cross block. Now to bottom block. To our crossbody bottom. And finally, bottoms up front. Let's do one fluid transition to bottoms up front on the other side. And we'll reverse. Going to crossbody bottom. Bottom block. To Midgard. Cross block. Bottom punch. Cross blade to bottom block back. Now let's go ahead and make this fluid as we go through all of our landmarks, finding ourselves now in bottoms up front. Let's execute one transition to the other side. going from bottoms up to bottoms up, transition, and reversing. And as soon as we hit a bottoms up position, transition to the other side. And we're now doing a full 360-degree rotation of sword swings using a series of landmarks. So go ahead and set your mace down and take a quick break. Now, who here tried swinging your mace like a sword before learning a bunch of landmarks? Yeah, me too. During that process, how many of you guys tried to figure out where landmarks might be? Nope, just swung the mace around like a sword. Yeah. I did too at first. Eventually I did try to find out where some landmarks were, but they were primarily in like the outside sword swing. But do you guys see how connecting these landmarks and practicing these transitions between them are going to make you have a stronger and more effective sword swing overall? Right on. Absolutely is going to help your tendons and ligaments withstand all the tension and pressure that we put on by putting one hand on the mace and swinging it around ballistically. So what I want you guys now to do is go ahead and get up. And we're just going to do this for a couple minutes. I want you to move from bottoms up to bottoms up, just like we were doing, transitioning to the opposite side, moving from bottoms up to bottoms up. And just go ahead and give that a few reps. Take a couple of minutes to feel all the landmarks. Take it nice and slow. Sean, I want you to slow it down just a little bit. Swords and Shields as a module is a strength and conditioning module. Yes, it's in a flow program, but make no bones about it. This is strength and conditioning. We're going to get more strength and more conditioning if we slow it down and maximize our time under tension. Newt, that's beautiful. Excellent work, Rich. I love the hand on the heart. Everybody, as you're doing this, mind your shield arm. Measure your sword swing, Fausti. Slow it down just a little bit, my brother. Bottoms up to bottoms up. Good. Just about another 30 seconds, my friends. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of homework for the weekend. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And time. Go ahead and set your maces down, guys. That concludes our exploration of the Swords and Shields landmarks for today. Before I assign homework for the weekend, does anyone have any questions about any of those landmarks or anything that we did? Any observations that you want to share? No? All right, you guys have 2 pieces of homework for me. Item number 1. I want you guys to pick your favorite of the landmarks and take about 2 minutes to journal why that's your favorite, what it is that you like about it. Something you guys might have noticed is that although today we didn't add anything in the way of footwork, but if you were to add footwork to these landmarks, basically what we're doing is striking a series of poses. So once we start adding footworks and connecting these landmarks, we're simply moving from dynamic position to dynamic position. These landmarks are great tools to have when we're flowing. They allow for those dramatic pauses. Dramatic pauses are good for us and they're good for the people who are watching us flow. They're good for us because they can give us a moment to calibrate, and it can give anyone who's watching us and trying to dissect what we're doing a moment of something beautiful to behold and to wrap their brains around what they just saw. So you guys are going to each write a flow this weekend. And your flow is going to be Swords and Shields landmarks moving from pose to pose. So it's not a super flowy flow. I just want you to pick 3 landmarks with footwork, move from pose to pose. I'd love to see you guys post those. Make sure you tag us. Maybe we'll have an opportunity on Monday to have a couple of you guys demonstrate. Guys, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate the opportunity to jump in and help teach part of this. This is the first time I've gotten to teach the Swords and Shields landmarks in the scope of a level 2 class. I've taught these landmarks plenty of times, but this is the first time I've done it in a mentorship. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
And use
Great
which,
class, bro.
Thank you.
Great class,
Thank you,
man.
Coach.
And where do we post, or do we just post on Instagram using the hashtag, or?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Is it still SMFLV2? Hashtag SMFLV2? HW?
LVL2.
LVL2 HW or no HW? No HW. Fuck,
No
no
HW. No HW. I'll put it in the chat so we all use the same one. How's that?
Okay.
Thank
Coach,
you
I
so
haven't been
much,
accepted
man.
into that group yet.
There you go. Cool. Thank you guys so much. If you all need any support with any of this over the weekend, please reach out. Let me know. If you guys want to run, like, I know Jamie's not able to run a review class this month. I do have some availability on Sunday. So if we get a couple people who need a review, I'm super happy to pull something together. So again, if you guys need any support, just shoot me a message on IG. That's the best way to reach me. Otherwise, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to seeing you guys on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great one.
Everyone have a good one.
Much
I
love.
gotcha. Later, Rich.
Yo, later, guys. Thank you. Later, guys.